One of the most asked questions I get on my channel is what is in your stock portfolio? So let's take a look at my stock portfolio to see the types of companies that I own. Because this is a finance topic, this is going to be general advice only, so take it as such. Everybody's financial needs are different, and what I do is not necessarily what you need to do. I've been reluctant to talk about my portfolio before, mostly because I didn't think it was that helpful, because I'm probably going to be in a different position, a different financial situation than most other people. Everybody has different financial goals, different financial needs, and what my needs are going to be different to somebody else's, and what my needs were in the beginning is different to what my needs are now. Plus, I just don't think it's helpful if you just copy someone's portfolio, because that's not really teaching you anything. I'd rather people just make decisions and do their own research and choose what's best for them. So as I mentioned, I'm in a different position now than I was when I started. I started as a growth investor and I'm now a dividend investor. So obviously my portfolio is a lot different now than when I started. Back then my criteria was completely different to what I look for now. So it makes sense that now the majority of my portfolio is income producing stocks, stocks that produce a high dividend yield so that I can live off the income. So I'm going to go in and break down. We're not going to go into exact amounts because I just don't think that's helpful. So we're going to look at percentages instead. So I currently own 12 single stocks, single companies, and 2 exchange traded funds. This does change over time, and while I'm not constantly buying and selling, I do a portfolio rebalance every 12 months, and every time I save up another $10,000 I do buy more stocks. That could be either a company that I already own or a different company. It depends on what I'm looking for at that time. But what I'm going to show you today is exactly what's in my portfolio today. So let's start with the exchange traded funds. I own 2 exchange traded funds. They're both income producing exchange traded funds. One is a dividend yield fund and one is a property fund. Now, I don't necessarily think that you need to have a whole lot of exchange traded funds because a lot of them will overlap. Like, there's no reason for me to have 2 high dividend yield exchange traded funds because they'll probably have the same companies in them. So it's just about choosing which fund that you want to go with. So the 2 exchange traded funds that I have, they make up 15% of my portfolio. Okay, next we have the banks. Now, there are quite a number of banks in Australia. There's the 4 main ones and a lot of smaller ones. I actually own 5 of the banks in Australia. I don't own all of them, and I don't own all of the larger banks either. I have a mix. So banks are pretty good income producing stocks, except for now, but they will go back to producing pretty good dividends. They're not great for growth, but they're really good for income. And so those 5 banks together make up about 17% of my portfolio. Next category is property groups. I own 1 property group and 1 real estate investment trust. I think property can be also a great income producing asset. Property can fluctuate. The property stocks that I own mainly deal with commercial property, and I found that commercial property trusts or REITs or whatever, they work best for me in my portfolio. So I have 2 of those and they make up about 18% of my portfolio. So the next 2 I have in my portfolio, I put under the retail category. So these retail stocks are probably either the big ones that you've heard about, or they own a lot of the big retail companies in Australia as a group. I quite like retail companies and retail stocks because it's kind of like a really easy company to understand, like you know what they do because it's usually the companies that you shop with anyway. And so this is the biggest percentage of my portfolio, and the 2 retail stocks that I have make up 25% of my portfolio. The smallest category in my portfolio only represents 2% of my portfolio, and it only contains 1 company, and that's a telecommunication company. I've been slowly getting rid of this one. I did own more of it, but I've been slowly selling it off. So eventually I'll probably have none of this company, but for now it just represents 2% of my portfolio. The next category is a utility company that I own. I own 1 of these. It's an electricity company. It supplies electricity to people. I think utility companies can be really good because everybody's always going to need electricity or gas or something, or water or anything. So these are actually pretty good companies for dividends, for income, because they're constantly, like, even in tough times like now, everybody is still going to be using these services. So this 1 utility company that I own represents 15% of my portfolio. So the last company that I own is an insurance company. It's an mortgage insurance company. Insurance companies can be another good income producing asset. I only own one in this category and it represents 8% of my portfolio. So altogether, those are the categories that make up my portfolio, 100% of my portfolio, 12 single stocks and 2 exchange traded funds. I think there's a really good mix of different sectors in here. They are all income producing stocks. Some categories I own more than one company in that category. Some categories I only own one in that category. But not only have I chosen them for the diversification, but also for the months that they pay, because you know that that is also important to me because I try to get income coming in every single month. So if I can have a broad selection of companies, there's a very good chance that at least one of them will be paying in a particular month. Most of the companies here in Australia pay twice a year. Some of them pay 4 times. Most of the exchange traded funds pay 4 times a year. So those are the mix of companies and stocks that make up my portfolio right now. I hope you found this video useful. I hope it's helped you in deciding how to structure your own portfolio. As I mentioned earlier, everybody's needs are different, and so what I do is not necessarily what you need to do, but everybody is asking me what's in my portfolio, so I think that this should give a good overview. As always, take care, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!